Okay, hey everybody. Welcome to Inside the Matrix today. Today we're welcoming back to the show Cirsten W. Kirsten, hello, how are you?
Good. Yeah, that would be Kirsten W with no space and one word.
Yeah. Before we leave, we'll
Okay.
definitely give out all your links, and then we'll also
Thank
put them
you.
in the show description so everybody can have
Thank
that
you.
as well. But you and I were talking offline, and we thought it would probably be a good idea to really kind of dive into the CIA. And
The Clowns in America, the cocaine importing agency. Yes. There
yeah,
you go.
exactly. And,
Okay.
the shenanigans that they've been up to. But first, we've got to go back to the time of Operation Paperclip back after World War
Yes.
II, because that's really where all that started. So, do you want to jump in there, or do you want me to give a little bit of background on that?
Well, I can say what I know and then you can join in, I'm sure.
Okay.
Basically, you have 1,600 Nazi scientists that were brought into the CIA. And they did it, keep one of their designs, actually, the stealth bomber. If you look at that, it's almost exactly the same as the German one. And
Uh-huh.
they seem to have penetrated all of our systems, school system, media, banking, everything, the whole nine yards, everything. You know, the CIA,
Yeah,
human
for sure. And
drug trafficking, human trafficking, gun running, events, 9/11, Vegas shooting, weather warfare, mainstream media, the whole nine yards. They have penetrated everything pretty much. I'm sure you have something to add to that.
sure. And I think just for those of you who have never heard of Operation Paperclip, I'll just give you the quick rundown of what that is. After World War II, um, our agency that we had during World War II for intelligence was the OSS, and that
Mm.
got morphed into the CIA. But the CIA was started with Operation Paperclip, which was to bring in many of the top Nazi scientists and propaganda ministers and people like that over to this country, and they started both the CIA and NASA. So most people have no idea that Nazis were involved in starting the CIA. And so they really, not only did they come over and start working here, but they brought their ideology with them.
Mhm.
And so they set about creating their own, instead of the Third Reich with Hitler, which didn't work out, they decided to start the Fourth Reich. And they've been actually very successful at that. And like you said, they've infiltrated every part of our society. And it's not just them, as far as when we refer to the deep state and everything, we're talking about them, the CIA, but we're also talking about a lot of other players too. There's corporations, there's think tanks, there's politicians. I mean, all these, people are working together on these things.
Right. And, it was, of course, helped by, as we know, the adopted father of George H.W. Bush. We know who he is, right?
Scherf was the name, I believe.
Well, no, that's H.W. Bush's real father. We're talking about the adopted father, who's a Bush, that
Okay.
adopted him, that
Hmm.
started the CIA.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Starts with a P.
Yeah.
Prescott Bush. Okay.
Yeah, the one that was actually indicted for aiding and abetting Hitler during World War II.
Right. He was,
So,
yeah.
because a lot of people also don't understand that the bankers in New York and London financed both sides of the war on World War II. They financed the United States and England. They also financed Hitler. So
Right.
when you understand these things, a lot more makes sense about
Right.
what they were trying to accomplish. But go ahead.
Okay. So what did they do? They started in the 1940s trying to get rid of what they called the communists by selling heroin to Harlem. right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's their first thing. So it was just drug running. And then the human trafficking came soon after. And then the gun running. And then the weather warfare. And then the mainstream media, Mockingbird media,
Yeah, that's
and
Project Mockingbird, right?
Mockingbird Media, and it covered everything. And then we go into the weather warfare, which is they call climate change, but it's really weather warfare. The global warming change to climate change, and because of the polar vortex, they can't really fight the fact that it's the Earth is cooling, so they have to do their weather warfare and manipulations all over the place. That's what they do. Okay,
Yep.
so we have the Bushes that are, front and center of this, and we have them involved in 9/11, the JFK assassination. As you know, the main person in charge of the JFK investigation was CIA agent Dulles, who
Yep.
was part of the group that took him down. JFK.
That's right.
So
Because
we have the
yep,
JFK,
JFK said he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces, and of course that didn't go
correct.
over well with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
so he took him out. They took him out. There was more than one group. There was the CIA. There was what do you call it? Lyndon Johnson, the the gay president.
Hmm.
Was its name Lyndon? The one that replaced him. Was it
Lyndon B.
Lyndon?
Johnson. That's right.
Correct. And then it was the mafia. He was shot so many times they had to I think they had to murder a New York City cop that looked like him and you know pretend it was him, but it wasn't.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah,
of people have said that the autopsy photo was not actually him. That was the uh,
yeah,
the cop that
yeah,
you were referring to. So there's
yeah.
so much
Correct.
that we don't know, and we may never know the exact details, but we do know that he made a lot of enemies because just like now, when Trump came along and started exposing the activities of the deep state and how these politicians have been using our money to line their pockets and the corruption and all that, and they went after him. And they have tried to kill him several times, I'm sure. Um,
Several times, over 50.
yeah.
I
Uh,
reported one of them, so yeah, there we go.
but
Over
it's much
50.
harder now because, everybody has a cell phone with a camera on it. And so it's much more difficult to take somebody out that way. But back
They
in the
tried
day,
last week. Did you
yeah,
see?
I
They
heard about
shot.
that
They shot a
at
bullet.
Mar-a-Lago, right?
Yes, into his bedroom, and it's it's splattered the glass a little bit. Fissures in the glass. So yeah,
And
and
I just have to say, whether you like Trump or not, as a person, a lot of people are turned off by his personality because he's kind of a blunt guy. But anybody that is, hated by the deep state so much, you got to consider there's a good reason for that, and that's because
yeah,
he's for the people, and he's been exposing their game. They do not want to give up their game. They want to keep it going because they're
mhm.
making massive profits. All these politicians, they do these um, aid programs, loan programs, all these foreign companies, but that money, majority of it's coming in kickbacks to them and these offshore accounts and things like that. So they don't want to give that up. You look at the last defense authorization bill, and it had billions and billions of dollars going to all these foreign governments. Well, guess what? A lot of that money is coming right back into their pockets. That's why they want to do it. That's one of the ways that they game the
20%
system.
kickback. That's the going rate. Just
Yeah.
like when Obama gave that company the money to basically print that stupid Common Core book, which I don't even think they printed. He got 2 book deals for
Uh-huh.
$66 million. So what is 80% of 66 million? That's what they got. what, 300 and something million. Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. That's the kickback rate, 20%.
Yeah. Well, that's the other game with the book deals. You know, like the publishing house that did Obama's book deal, and I think
Mhm.
Big Mike's book deal as well. They received
And and
$300 million up front from the government for some BS reason, and
it was for the Common Core book.
yeah. So then they take
Yeah, the
that
Common
money
Core math
and
book.
kick it back. So
Yeah, and they also have the same agent who also is do who also got that corrupt ambassador Marie Ivanovich from
mhm.
the Ukraine, her book deal. It's called Javelin
Yeah.
books.
So
Javelin book agents. Those are the
that's
same
another
agents.
method that they use to, use our money,
Launder.
people's
Mhm.
money to, launder it back into their own pockets.
Correct.
These people are so corrupt. It's unbelievable. And it's amazing, they've literally had decades to set all this stuff up, and they've been operating for decades and decades. And that's why all these politicians are so entrenched in there. You're not going to get them out because they're riding the gravy train and they don't want to go out. And they're not above any methods whatsoever of taking out their opponents. And they have
And
no
let me give
problem.
you some present news. We have Biden's compound was broken into, and they found tunnels, of course, underneath. That means children. And
Oh,
basically, they found Chinese weapons and 300 million in gold bullion, just like they did in Obama's house in Thailand, and they found 200 million in gold bullion, and they also found Chinese guns and tunnels. So tunnels means children, and so yes,
where
very
was this?
similar.
Where was that? Do you
Mhm.
know?
When was which?
No, where was it? Biden's.
Biden's was in Ukraine.
Okay.
He had a place out there in Ukraine. He owned a building and he owned a residence out in Ukraine,
Yeah.
acreage and a
But
residence.
he has no ties to Ukraine, and Hunter has no
No, he does.
ties. That's all
Yeah.
just Russian disinformation, right?
Well, the thing is that he did get from China $4.5 billion. And the reason is because China pretty much owns Ukraine. China bought into their I guess their three, uh, what should I say? The three businesses that they're known for. Number one being the plane building. They build planes there. Number two, oil and gas. And number three, intelligence. So China owns all three. So really, they got the money from China, but it came through Ukraine because also China does take down the billionaires in China. I don't know if I can say those words, but basically they then divvy up the funds with Biden because he helps China seize the assets of the Chinese billionaires and in the United States. So then they divvy up the
Yeah, a
stuff.
nasty little trick that China likes to do is just take down some of their billionaires and just basically steal their money and their assets, then put them in jail or
Some,
just get rid of them, right?
some they
Some.
take down most of them. They have a choice. They either go to jail, they get murdered, or they disappear. And the one that got out was Miles Kwok, who is Steve Bannon's billionaire, and he got out.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
so crazy that what we're dealing with here is just pure evil. And for the
right,
average person to even fathom what that means and how bad these people actually are is it's mind boggling. And even
right.
for those of us who have been around this a long time, it's still mind boggling to imagine the extent of insidiousness that takes place with these people.
It's
It's
true.
just amazing. And,
Mm.
But we still hold out the idea that we want to have a free country. We want to have a free
Mm,
world. We want everybody to
right.
experience abundance and
Hmm.
opportunity and cooperation and happiness in their lives. But that doesn't work well for the deep state. They thrive on war. They thrive on fear mongering, because when people are afraid, they're easy to manipulate. That's historically always been that way. And
Right.
because of the fact that they fully control the mainstream media, they're able to do that. And people do not understand that the mainstream media is an apparatus of this deep state
And what are the six
evilarchy.
companies they control? What are the six companies?
What are they?
Yes.
I can't name them all.
News
I
Corp,
know there's
Viacom,
Disney is one of them.
CBS,
Yeah.
Time, Warner. We have uh, General Electric that got purchased by Comcast.
Now,
So we have
wasn't General
News
Electric
Corp,
up?
Viacom, Comcast, CBS, Warner Brothers, and what's the other one? There's one more. There's six companies that pretty much control 90% of the media.
Wasn't Disney one of them?
Yeah, Disney. That's it. You're correct.
I
Disney.
think wasn't General Electric, weren't they trying to sell that to the Chinese as well?
They were trying to sell it, but they sold part of it, and then the last portion, which has the plane building technology, they couldn't sell because the Patriots blacked out. What was that place they were signing the contracts at? Was it Pakistan? I think it was Pakistan. They blacked out Pakistan. I think that's better than the far away. I think that looks better.
Okay.
Yeah, the far away just, yeah. Anyway, this is better because we're both like the same size. I think it looks better, right?
Alrighty then. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's go forward. Basically, what happened, 9/11, they were complicit in that. They
Mm-hmm.
were complicit in basically the Vegas shooting. They've pretty much got their hands in everything. The Vegas shooting, multiple shooters, one Patsy, as you know, the guy that they said was the shooter, the Patsy, namely Paddock,
Mm-hmm.
was gun running for them for over 2 decades. So yeah,
Yeah, they love that scenario of using the single, patsy, the lone gunman.
yeah, the
They always
Patsy, and
do
then they
that.
have all multiple. Of
Yeah.
course, you know them by their symbols, so they usually have six people involved. They have one Patsy and then five others, right? And
Yeah.
that's their MO. So yeah, so they were involved in that. That was a failed attempt at assassinating Prince Salman, who became King Salman, and who was involved was Prince Alawid, which we call Dopey, and he owned the two top floors of the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, the
So
Four
yeah,
Seasons is, I think it's the top four of Mandalay Bay is part of
top
the
floor.
Four Seasons.
Yeah,
And yeah, they own that. And I
he
know
did.
here, since I live here in Vegas, many people that I know that were out that night were talking about there were several helicopters flying around the area where the concert was taking place all during the shooting. And they never talk about that in the news, that there were helicopters coming and going off the roof of Mandalay Bay and flying around in general in that area. So that's never been explained properly. Why was that? Who were those people flying around? Were they
Right.
part of it as well? We just don't know. And of course the local sheriff here, they came out with all kinds of stories, and the FBI was standing right next to him every press conference, and they never did give a final press conference to explain what happened. They just, let time go by, and people just stopped talking about it. The press
Well,
stopped
the
talking about it.
FBI does the cleanup for the CIA,
Right. And
and
that's
so
why they were
when the
there. They were there to make sure that what the sheriff said was acceptable.
so I think there were multiple shooters in multiple casinos, not just that casino. I mean, they Trump had already rescued Prince Salman and taken him out from the Tropicana in his what do you call it? beach clothes, or whatever you want to call that, streetwear. And it was too late. They already rescued him through BlackRock. Eric Prince, who is the brother of the former education head of the United States, Betsy DeVos. Okay, so
Hmm.
yes, that would be Eric Prince rescued him,
And
and
there were shooters at several different locations, and that made the
correct,
local news. There were eyewitnesses.
right,
Tropicana and Bellagio, I know those two for sure, and that there are
mm,
others as well. And
correct.
people were talking on the local news here saying that they heard the gunfire, they saw, people with guns going through the casinos. And but yet on the national news they said it was all just in one spot, so the story gets muddied, it gets twisted and spun and all that to where we never really find out the truth of what happened. The whole
Well, there were two assassins. There were two assassins that were with Paddock. Okay, and they took him out, and then they were shooting, and then the FBI came and shot them.
Hey.
Mm, to do the cleanup. Correct. Just like the FBI did the cleanup when the guy that the two guys that supposedly were part of MS-13 took Seth Rich out, and they did a bad job, and then the FBI came and took them out. So they always do the cleanup. They did the cleanup for the Parkland shooting too. Again, multiple shooters, many in full on bulletproof gear, shooting at the children. And why did they do that? Because the Democratic Party was running out of cash. And if you didn't know, when you have some kind of event in the area, the victims don't get it. It's the county that gets it. So they got over $6 million for that shooting.
Yeah, it's all this stuff is
And
just
of
so
course, you have
crazy.
David Hogg, whose dad was a CIA,
Yeah.
and he's talking about, gun control. Yeah,
Yeah, and they're
we know.
still parading him around everywhere.
Oh gosh, disgusting.
Unbelievable. So
Yeah,
what do we do, Kirsten? What do we do? What do people do?
we need to expose more. They did a lot more. Don't forget the weather warfare, as you know, where they had all the storms pretty much. As you know, you mentioned it, that NASA was part of that group too. So
Right.
NASA, the CIA, the Department of Justice, and the USDA are part of the weather warfare. Okay, and it seems that the last three storms. I mean, I think they have their hands in all the storms, be it natural ones or not. They make them larger and they carry them up. They had HARP since 1940. So, they could create hurricanes. They have articles written that the Department of Justice was bragging that they could steer the hurricanes. So, it is very, very clear that they have control of the weather. And basically, that the big one, well, the three last year, Marco, what was that? Marco, Jane, I think it was Sally and Jane. All three hurricanes went up through the same region, all the same. What are the chances that three hurricanes would go through the same path? Like they went through Mississippi, all the way up from, from the Gulf, all the way up through Mississippi to Texas. They tried to take out the chlorine plant. They missed the first time. They went for it again the second time and the third time, and they missed. You know why they missed? Okay. They missed because they've been doing so much weather warfare that there is Sahara dust all over. It's all over the planet. The Sahara dust just wraps around those hurricanes that they create or they manipulate if it's natural, and they kill them off. So their own Sahara dust that is flying all over the planet is stopping their hurricanes. So they had to do it 3 times, and they still didn't succeed very well. So, that's their doing too. And then, of course, Dorian. Shall we talk about Dorian?
Sure.
Dorian. We had Dorian 10, which is unmanned, and we had Dorian 11, which was manned. They had planted tactical nukes all the way up the East Coast from Florida at the Port St. Lucie nuclear plant, then in Georgia, and then on to, I don't know, up in the East Coast, and then to all the way to Canada. So they were going to use that. They were going to use that hurricane and blame it on the hurricane, but they actually had tactical nukes already planted. Okay. The Patriots got hold of the tactical nukes, and they took them out, and they got hold of the hurricane Dorian 11, and they held that hurricane. They prevented it from going up the coast. They held that hurricane over the Bahamas, as you know,
Hmm.
and destroyed 2 Chinese ports, one Chinese submarine port. I'm being Chinese, know that. And basically the Dutch port reserve. And what was washing up in the shores of Malvern Beach in Florida? Big packages that have the word cocaine on, washing up. So all their drug laundering money was gone. This is Donald Trump that's doing it to them. They detest him because he is finishing off their finances. He is taking it out. Okay, he's doing it.
Yeah.
So
So
that's, go ahead.
yeah, that it's amazing. And they've been chemtrailing for decades, and
Yeah.
this puts the metal particulate into the atmosphere, and using that
Right.
metal particulate, that's what they can hit with these frequencies to steer the weather patterns and things like that.
Okay,
Control.
so we have them when they, okay, you have the regular hurricanes that they try to steer, and they do that at night, usually through the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico. A normal hurricane gets the energy from the sun in the day. So some of these hurricanes that they create, they use the bunker fuel in the ocean to make the path of where they want the hurricane to go, and then they mix it with the chemtrails, and then it forms a hurricane, and then they hit it with a laser at night to direct it where they want it to go. Usually hurricanes, real ones, have an eye wall. Some of these don't even have an eye wall, or it's perfectly circular, or it's square, something not natural.
Right.
And watch Mike Morales' channel.
Yeah, and also,
Yeah.
Katrina was a huge, massive test of their system, uh,
Yes.
so that they could prove that what they could do with this kind of stuff. And to a lot of people, this sounds like science fiction. Is like, oh, they're not doing that. Why would they do that? Well, you don't understand the mindset of psychopaths.
To jack up the food prices, USDA. All right. And also, Katrina was the one that was in Texas, correct?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one in
Mainly,
Texas,
I'm.
but
It probably hit part of Texas too because it was pretty
yeah.
massive. But it was mainly centered in New Orleans and did all the flooding and everything there.
The one that happened in Texas, I know Texas is the state that has the most weather modulators in the United States. So everyone's got a weather modulator there. So the one that hit Houston, the one that hit Houston was blocked from going north by the weather modulators at the next state up. They were blocking it from going up. So they held it in Houston, and they were blocking it and keeping it down. So yeah, they do a lot of weather modification and warfare. And of course, don't forget those direct energy weapon fires in
California.
California and
Yep.
Paradise, where all the retirees from my church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, live, and they were basically incinerated in their homes, and they only said a few hundred died. I think it was thousands. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they used the mud slush to wash off all the evidence. And they've been doing it in California for years. They steer the atmospheric rivers and block the moisture from going there, and then they hit it with the direct energy weapons from the two wonderful companies that make them, Lockheed Martin and Raytheon. Hello, we
Yeah.
know your name. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the average person out there who may be coming into this information for the first time, they're going to have a really difficult time, understanding a mindset that could do these types of evil deeds. But you got to understand that these people, or whatever they are, uh, do not have the mindset. They have no care or compassion like normal human beings do. Everything is a means to an end with them, and they're just in their intelligence to them is the ultimate, and whatever else they get out of it is just the prize, and but they have no restrictions as far as morality goes, as far as ethics or anything like that normal human beings would want to adhere to, because that's the way we are. But they absolutely are not that way. They have no intention of being that way. And so they just do whatever they want with no restriction, with no restrictions. And it makes it difficult because we're not going to operate that way. We would never consider operating that way. So all we can do really is share the information and hope that enough people wake up to what's really going on, that we can, make some changes. That we need to get these people out of positions of power and get people in there who have our best interests at heart. And I don't know, it sounds sort of Pollyanna, that, that we're going to create all these good deeds and good people. It's not that easily done. But we definitely have to try. We can't just let them bowl us over the way they've been doing it.
Well, we have to drain the swamp, right? And
Right.
basically, they get joy out of destroying people, and also joy, and they achieve another goal, which is, Bill Gates's goal. He's a eugenicist, to reduce the Earth's population from 7 billion down to 550 million, because that's their main goal. Is plan, that was Agenda 21, changed to Agenda 2030, and they want to reduce the Earth's population, thus the vaccines and all the other stuff. Oh, we can't say that.
Yeah, those I call them quack scenes. Yeah, yeah,
Vaccine,
and
correct. The
it's sad. And
vaccines.
the Agenda
Yeah,
21 and Agenda 2030 you're referring to is out of the UN, the United Nations,
right.
and you can look those up
You,
and read them yourself. It's pretty astounding at and the audacity of these people and their arrogance of what they want to carry out. And of course, the Georgia Guidestones in Georgia kind of lays out their plan and talks about reducing the population of the world down to a more manageable size of 500 million, according to them.
yeah, but well, we have to lay it out for them. So basically, we have at the top, well, not at the tippy top, but at the top, we have the Council of Foreign Relations that controls the CIA. They control the politicians. That would be Adam Schiff, who's CIA. That would be Dianne Feinstein, who's triple spy, China, CIA, Mossad. That would be a many, many, many. We can just go down the line, okay? Most of them are CIA operatives, okay? And they're being blackmailed all the way to Justice Roberts, who was blackmailed by the CIA because he adopted two children through Epstein, from Wales or Ireland. And basically, he voted for Obamacare when he's supposed to be conservative. And then he has his plan with who was in the room. That would be John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, of course, CIA, and to replace Judge Scalia before he was even gone. Okay, before he was wet worked. Let's use the word wet works. Okay, wet works. He was wet worked. Okay, and yeah, they are a group of nasty varmints that really deserve what they give out, the same what they do. And yeah, there's a lot of them. We also have them in the media. Of course, many of the media are CIA operatives, most notably Anderson Cooper of CNN, and he doesn't even deny it. Of course, his really good friend Andy Cohen, who's very political for a comedy and a realism TV. He always has to put his politics in there, that Nazi lingo that we are all labeled with: Nazi, racist, misogynist, fascist, conspiracy theory. And unfortunately, I'm Chinese, so they couldn't label me with the racist thing, but they did get me with the conspiracy theorist thing. And yes, I'm the one that broke the story. And Right Wing Watch, that's really funded by George Soros, which I think is deceased, the original at least, they went after me and they said that I was a conspiracy theorist. If you look up my name, that I basically said that they had tried to assassinate our president, Donald Trump, still our president, over 50 times. And I stand by that. And when you people at Right Wing Watch, you don't know, Ann Vandersteel backed down. She did the video with me, and you guys marked that video. And basically, you got Chelsea Clinton involved, who retweeted the video, and then we got more views. We got 79,000 views. Thank you, Chelsea Clinton. And basically, Gene Decode said that basically both parents were passed, which I didn't agree with. I jumped out of my chair and I said, Bill Clinton? No, he's fine. I do agree that the mother is gone. And then I responded to Chelsea Clinton by saying that your real father is Webster Hubbell. It's not Bill
Yeah.
Clinton. And she shut it. And of
Yeah, and
course,
she looks just like him.
yeah. And of course, I went after Right Wing Watch and I said, listen, I know that most of your numbers are fake. Your 20,000, 120,000, whatever you have, they're bots. Because if you have 120,000, 200,000 people following you, most of the cabal that are in the media or whatever they're doing, attacking Trump every single day, you know he's good if they're attacking him every single day. And all those attorneys, Ian Basson, Norm Eisen, the Transition Integrity Project, who else? The most corrupt attorney in the United States, Andrew Weissman, who collapsed Enron, and Arthur Anderson, then went after Trump with the Mueller probe, and his cases were all bad. They were all overturned. He's the most corrupt attorney in the United States. Remember that name, Andrew Weissman.
Yeah,
And
he
then
was the one that was, he was really the one that was doing everything with the Mueller
Mueller probe. Yeah,
investigation.
he wrote the Mueller probe, correct.
Yeah.
And he hired Mueller. That's why Mueller didn't know anything about what was done.
Yeah, that was
All
funny.
we learned from Mueller is, that word. That was not in my, you know the word, right?
Yeah.
That was not in my, what was that word? I can't remember.
Here's
The word.
purview or whatever. I don't know.
Purview.
Yeah.
That was not in my purview.
Yeah.
I mean, thank
In other
you
words,
for
I don't
that.
know a
That
dang
cost
thing.
us-
I'm just out here being the talking head. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
that cost us over $44 million for that one word, purview.
yeah. It's just,
And he's still not in jail.
it's
And
just
of course,
crazy.
we have Rod Rosenstein, that was supposed to be wire wider and trap Trump. And he moved out of his house a year ago, deeded everything to his corrupt wife, Lisa Barsumian, not even the same name, and is preparing to get arrested. But they've let him sweat it out for a year. And basically, she is the attorney for the Clintons. She basically defended them 17 times or more. And she works for the most corrupt law firm in the United States named Perkins Coie. the same law firm that paid for the dirty dossier, and Christopher Steele. And then we have to go to the FBI. Let's expose them a little bit. And Peter Comey, the maybe twin
James.
brother or brother
Oh,
of
the
James
brother of
Comey.
James Comey. Okay.
Correct. And he works for the second most corrupt law firm in the United States named CLA Piper, who also employs Emhoff, Kamala Harris's corrupt attorney husband. And we have
It just goes round and
Comey,
round and round, doesn't it?
we have Peter Comey that rewired all of the FBI office. Okay, so that is something else. Okay, so don't get me going because I have a lot more to say.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do before we wrap it up, because this is just going to be a short interview, but I want to get your take on what you think is happening now. With we have the resident in the White House supposedly, but what do you think is going to happen next month?
He's
What's
not in the
your
White House. He hasn't even entered.
Okay, so what do you think is
He's
going to
in.
happen next month? There's a lot of speculation and a lot of people are
Well,
talking about.
I'm thinking and hoping and getting intel that our real president is coming back. And the prices of the hotels, the Trump hotel, when during January 6th and 5th were about 3,000 a night. The prices of the Trump hotel are now 6,000 to 7,000 a night for those dates of the 3rd and 4th of January. So what do you think? I think yes.
You mean March?
I mean March, sorry. January was about 3,000. Now March 3rd and 4th is about 6,000 and 7,000 for a room.
So they must be anticipating something going on, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that, they're allowing all of this to happen and him to do his fake executive actions. They're not even orders. And of course, the pharmacies are going to go with it because they get to jack up all their prices. He's trying to basically reinstall the Obamacare 2.0. He has already pushed through the supposed COVID relief. What is it? $9.1 trillion.
And where's all that money going?
Huh?
Where's the majority of that money going?
To their pockets. But you know what? Their money's basically worthless because we're going to switch over. I think Trump's going to do it all at one time. The switch over to the gold standard, all this other stuff. So, it's coming. Just be patient. And I don't think he would leave us in the lurch. We just saw that big expose by Mr. L. Can't even say his name properly. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes. LW?
Is
that who you're talking about?
It's ML. ML.
Oh,
ML, the initials. Okay. and the initials of the documentary that I've saved, and many of them have saved it.
All right.
Is called
yes,
AP.
Mr. Let's just put it
AP.
this way. Mr. Helping you make your sleep more comfortable guy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, and that for those who have not seen that, I urge you to find it. It is around. You're not going to find it on YouTube or Facebook anymore because they
it's
wiped
everywhere.
it out. But it's all over the
everywhere.
other social media platforms, and it
Well,
has
YouTube
all
took it down, but there's people putting it up on YouTube every day. So
yeah, you
this
might be
is
able to
my
catch
prediction.
it. Yeah, you might be able to catch
This
it.
is my prediction. The big tech is going to take themselves down because we are the majority. As I always mention, we're the majority. So we're like the termites, just gnawing at them, and the information's coming out everywhere, and they can't close all the holes. So they're going to take themselves down. That would be Facebook, that would be Twitter, and that would be YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google. Google's owned by Alphabet, and Alphabet's owned by the CIA. The CIA also owns the Washington Post, which they purchased for Mr. Jeff Bezos, and they also helped purchase Disney World, the land at Disney World for $200 an acre.
Back in the
So
day,
they
yeah,
got
yeah.
their hands in everything.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
think they don't. But
absolutely. And
some good
all
news.
all the social media platforms were started by DARPA, you know.
Yes,
So this is
yes,
all tied in with military and intelligence, CIA intelligence.
right.
These social media platforms were designed to be intelligence gathering systems so that they could, feed the information into their AI computers and better understand what people are thinking and how they needed to put out their propaganda and their mind control agenda to steer people in the direction that they wanted them to go.
Okay. So, last but not least, we of course have to reference the firefight in Frankfurt, which was linked to, let's just say, Domino's. You know what I'm talking about. You can't
Mm-hmm.
say that name, it's you can say Domino's. And basically, other servers that were kind of smart that owns Domino's, and other servers that start with an S in Barcelona. That's all I have to say. And of course, including the satellite named L, let's just say the alphabet. And we had a firefight between the CIA, who was run by Gina Haspel, who is a black hat, and she called in the CIA agents. Of course, one from the poppy fields owned by the Bushes. So let's separate the drugs. We have the poppy fields heroin owned by the Bushes. We have the military working there with the CIA working there, and then of course we have the cocaine from Colombia brought in by the Clintons, the MENA drug cartel, and we have the pharmaceuticals from China being brought in by none other than the main donor to Epstein, who's still alive, by the way, Les Wexner.
Wexner, yeah.
Has been doing it for decades. That would be Mossad. That would be the MEGA group, not MEGA, MEGA group of very wealthy Jewish billionaires. So yes, that would be Steven Spielberg and many, many others. We have so much to discuss. We tried to make this show very what do you call it? Unscripted. So
Right.
when I'm battering back and forth with him, it's very unscripted. We wanted to make it the opposite of a mainstream media show, which Fox, as you know, is controlled by um, the rhino that did a lot to Trump. That
Oh,
would be
Paul
Stephen
Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
And basically, he released the tape on Trump, the groping tape. He also let in many refugees, like 330. And he also, his wife was a big, she worked for Hillary and she got millions for her. So, yes, if you're Republican and you're married to Democrat, something's wrong with that picture.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he just fired one of the top people at Fox
Hmm.
that was a total Trump supporter. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, and there's only a few shows left on Fox now that are actually trying to tell the truth. So it's sad, but
Bye, Lou
it's
Dobbs.
up.
I think you should go to
Mhm.
Newsmax or OAN. I'm sure they'll love to have you because you're a total patriot. Yes, I did love your shows, Lou Dobbs, and we knew that you were going to get canned because yes, we have Paul Ryan, the Rhino, that had to step down because he's so corrupt. That's in charge of Fox, and he put in Donna Brazil, as we know. So there we
Yeah,
go.
there
I
you
would
go.
again. I love to do the show because it's unscripted. We batter back and forth. We don't plan what we're going to say. So we're trying to make it like, a reality show. So I hope this works. If you like it, please put comments at the bottom, give it a bunch of likes, and we'll go from there. If it does well, we could do it more often. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
yeah, I'm a busy girl and he's a busy guy. So yeah, if you like it, tell him and give it a like. Thank you.
All right. Before we take off, Kirsten, why don't
Yes.
you mention what platforms you're on, and I'll also put it in the show description so people will have those links.
Well, I have a replacement for Facebook and Twitter. It's called Ink Social, INKD social.net. There's no apostrophe and no E. So INKD inksocial.net. I'm there every day. That's my home. So I have also Cirsten W on YouTube, UGETUBE, Cirsten W on Brighteon, Cirsten W on Rumble, and of course, this beautiful platform here that's owned by the clowns in America, the Cocaine Importing Agency.
All right.
We have one true Cirsten W and the other one CW Connect. So yes, we know it's a clown show up there. We know there's a lot of doubles, there's clones. I mean, it's a freak show out there, and we know it. So it's like nothing really surprises us anymore. So welcome to the circus, folks. We just exposed part of it. There's more. Okay.
Right. Appreciate it, Kirsten. Thank you. And we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, we'll talk again soon. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.